episode of Circle City Conversations. My name is Alex Limontes. I am your host here with my dear friend, Jon Ferguson, an attorney with the Indiana Department of Health. Jon, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So Jon, I've known you for at least a few years now, right? Through the Bar Association.
Yeah, I think 2020, is right, or before COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to remember.
And we'll talk a little bit more about the bar, but I'm always interested in lawyers that work in public service roles, whether it be you work for the Department of Health, it could be a state government role, county government, but those lawyers, especially the ones that get involved in the Bar Association, because you don't see a lot of them, you know? So what is it about working with the bar, like what brought you there? Why are you so involved?
I think some of it was just to have a little bit more of that community.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice sometimes to talk just with attorneys. I mean, there's some general things that I don't want to say like that we just understand, but there's some better understanding of what our day-to-day life's like. There's some I'll say maybe gone through the same trauma of law school, taking the bar. There's that sort of shared understanding. So it was just nice to really just kind of be with more lawyers, especially since I serve more in a role closer and previously like in-house counsel. Then sometimes you just don't have that same large group of attorneys that you're working with. So the bar is a good outlet just to kind of be with lawyers.
Yeah, and lawyers that do very different things than you do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's backtrack a little bit. Let's talk about that. For anyone listening that may not know you, tell us a little bit about your background and what originally drew you to the practice of law.
Yeah. So I left law school and, I think I was just like now that's 2012, which it's gone by so fast. But I left and I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. So that's when I joined the Attorney General's office, just because I felt like it could have a lot of kind of large variety of like what they covered and kind of figure out a little bit. And I had interned there during law school. But as I was there, I just kind of enjoyed actually I don't want to say the client part, but sometimes with the Attorney General's office, you don't necessarily get that attorney-client relationship. And I liked actually helping folks, feeling like I could work one-on-one, help them kind of explain the law. And so there was an opening at the Department of Correction. And so I applied, took the role, and then just kind of went from there. It's kind of a fun, I'll say, in government, you get to try so many different things and there's a lot more variety. And I think that is probably one of the things I really like is just the variety, probably similar to, anybody saying like, I want a variety of cases. I want to, each case is slightly different. I just like to be able to, help folks out. And even from there, then I became like their legislative director. I did contracts. I mean, especially something like the Department of Correction. It's a lot like running a small city.
Wow.
I mean, we have everything from sewers to, there's property things that you're having to work. It's just a lot of fun. And it was just the work was interesting. And I think that's what I kind of searched out.
You did legislative work?
Yeah. So I was their legislative director for 3 or 4 years. So
Interesting.
yeah, it's also the work that I feel like keeps bringing me back.
Really?
It is.
Why is it?
Every time it's mostly just supervising the future legislative directors, which I just like. It's a cool way that Indiana has set up with the General Assembly. The rules are sometimes hard to understand, and so I always track it, even when I was not necessarily a legislative director or supervising that role. I just always kind of kept in touch with what's going on. So
You were at the Department of Corrections for about how long?
a decade. So
Wow.
yeah,
22, 20.
22. So I was their chief counsel by the time that I left. So again, I think I said that earlier, but it went by really fast. And I think that's the scary part sometimes is you're like, those 10 years went by quickly. And then with that, I kind of decided I wanted to kind of branch out a little bit, maybe try something different. So that's when I kind of was like, well, health seems to be a good draw. So I'd worked with the Department of Health on a variety of different projects just because there's a lot of overlap between correction and public health.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a it was a little bit of a pivot, but it's worked out really great.
Yeah.
So and then now I've been there for 3 years, and serve as their chief of staff.
So that's a really broad term. Public health,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So before we go any further, I want to break this down for people that really just don't understand that term because it's when you hear that phrase it can be really abstract, right?
Mhm.
And even intimidating, but it does affect everyday lives.
Yeah.
And so, and correct me if I'm wrong, just some things like making sure food and water is safe. Is that
Yeah.
along the lines? Yeah. Regulating hospitals, nursing home facilities, care facilities, infectious diseases, things like that, just everyday life, right?
Yeah, if I thought that, the Department of Correction was going to offer me a wide variety of things to work on, uh, public health was that times 10. I mean,
On steroids,
it
right?
is
Yeah.
I always joke that it's everything from, your birth certificate to death certificate and everything in between. I mean, and so many times people just think about it as the food, that they're eating and being like, "Oh, it's just gonna be," they do the health inspections, which is part of it, and that's probably the most public, but there's also so much underneath that you don't even think about,
Yeah.
whether or not it's, maternal and child health, making sure that, Indiana is making some progress in the area of, improving, those outcomes. It's just really cool to see the work that you're doing, like, actually matter,
Mhm.
and I don't say, like, actually matter, like, as if there's not other ones, because everybody has that,
Right.
but you can see knowing that, like, I feel like I'm actually making it safer for my family, I'm making things, a better place, like, Indiana a better place and a healthier place. That's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see the results.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, do you do any legislative work there or
I always try to prefer to stay a little bit tangential to it. I don't wanna be over there sometimes, but I do work with our legislative director a lot, and
yeah.
so and I think that that's kind of, fun, especially with legislative directors, especially for agencies. They're usually younger and starting out, and so you get to kind of help them learn the process and watch their careers grow, which
Mhm.
that's always my favorite part of anything is, like, that
Okay.
leadership and helping people kind of really develop into who they're gonna be.
Is there a specific project or initiative that you remember working on that you saw and you were like, "Wow, that was me. I helped do that." Even if you just did a little part of it?
Yeah, so I came in right when, for the previous governor, they were wrapping up the Governor's Commission on Public Health,
Mm.
and so at that point, they were studying to see what it is that Indiana needs in order to be healthier, um, and we were able to go to the legislature, with a full set of, like, really those recommendations of what that could be, and that would later become, now what's Health First Indiana, which was, really a record investment. Well, it was a record for Indiana and really across, like, the US
Yeah.
of actually seeing, like, an investment in public health. It was just a really cool time to actually be part of that team and actually see something that was just an idea at one point, and then now you are, in every county being able to, like, see that work that they're doing, and it is all things beyond regulatory. It's actually, like, making sure, working with schools and school-age children, for, like I said, maternal and the mortality, making sure that, like, people are making it to their first birthday, and it's just really cool to see the needle,
Yeah.
and probably even cooler to see it was something that, as a state, we came together for,
Yeah.
and it was able to make, sort of that investment, and even to see, like, it's not about the news articles, but even see the news articles that was like,
Yeah.
"How does Indiana able to do it?" So,
Yeah.
it was just a really proud moment. Eh
Yeah, I bet. That's really cool, especially being able to work with the kids and see the impact on the kids in the schools.
Yeah, and even, like, the local health departments,
Yeah.
I will say we'll talk about like, Dr. Weaver, who heads the Department of Health, just her, she went to every single county over a period of 18 months. So like that's a lot just to do.
It's 92 counties.
92 counties. And it was actually cool just to see some of those counties and see like what they were doing with this money. Because for some of them, I mean, that was like maybe 10 times more than what they'd received any other previous year, and actually be able to see them say, these are the programs that we knew would help our community, and now they're able to do them.
Yeah.
So it was really exciting to be kind of partnered along with that.
Yeah. It's really energizing to see like public service like actually work.
Yeah.
Right. Yes.
And that's always been something that I think that is probably what, you know, at the end of the day, like what keeps me going on that is that public service part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So you're currently serving with the Indiana Department of Health, and at a high level, what does your role involve like on a day-to-day basis?
So actually, as I not preparing, but like even trying to figure out what we were going to talk about, I was like, I don't even know what I'm going to say. I mean, my job is just to move papers around. That's all I do. But it's really making sure that like my teams have what it is that they need and being able to provide sort of some guidance at a high level on those.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm an attorney. I am not. You don't want to take health advice from me. So I will say even yesterday they were trying to get me to guess what organ. Like it was like some diagram, and they're like, "What organ do you think this is?" And I was so. But I think it's cool to work with those subject matter experts that know, and then you can kind of come alongside them and be like, "Okay, but this is the way, you know," and help them make
Mhm.
their what help them promote their ideas, I guess, is the easiest way. So that's really what I'm doing, is just helping them.
Yeah.
And we have a great team. I mean, everybody there cares so much and are passionate.
So you're really managing a group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
which is different for lawyers because I don't think they give us a whole lot of
No.
background.
No.
Probably something you've experienced. Like,
Yes.
yes. HR is not, I mean, we know the laws of HR, but we don't necessarily know
Right.
the best practices.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to someone on the podcast. It was Vanessa Lopez, and we were talking about school in law school classes that they should have, you know, to teach people how to manage a group of people. And yeah, so um a lot of people don't realize, we talked a little bit about public health. A lot of people don't realize the amount of legal work that goes into public health. And you mentioned, you know, there's food regulations and health inspectors and stuff like that. But what are maybe some of the things that you noticed working now at the Department of Public Health for years now? Some of the things that kind of surprised you when you were like, oh, we're involved in that.
And maybe I'm the only one, but, you know, one of the things we oversee, weights and measures. It is by far, I don't know, like, I'm very excited about that, but it's by far my favorite, thing to go out and visit.
What is that?
It's like, your gas, like, whenever you go and there's, like, a little sticker that it's been inspected. There's something really cool about the idea that, like, there is, like, a state pound
Yeah.
or a state liter or all of these measurements that, like, everything is measured against, and
Yeah.
that there's a group of people that go out there and make sure that, like, when you're pumping a gallon of gas, that gallon is actually a gallon.
Yeah.
It's probably some very
Interesting.
nerdy aspect that, like, that again, we have in some,
Yeah.
I will say, like, laboratory almost, of just, like, this is the pound, and this is the pound that we are going to have. So
Yeah.
I would have never guessed that, and was when I went out there to go visit them, I felt like a little bit like a kid. Just I was like, "What does this one do, and how do you measure this?" And yeah,
That's so funny.
but you don't realize it's those things that you're like, "Oh, that is really important that we actually have somebody making sure that that is the right."
Oh yeah, people could rip you could get ripped off. I mean,
Yeah.
say they're selling you a gallon, it's not a gallon.
And, like, I would have no idea what.
I would, yeah, as long as it's in the car, right? Yeah.
So, yeah.
I want to talk a little bit um about how do you balance legal compliance and public safety, and then also individual rights when those interests come into tension with each other.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is just so much trying to come up from a place of reasonability. Everybody is trying to do what it is that they that they want or they think is best and for their families, for the health. And so sometimes it's our job just to come along and just educate, um, provide some information. But at the end of the day, it's also just about respecting people's ability to choose for themselves what they need to do. And I think that's kind of that's a good space, I think, to be in. Um, and I think also when it comes to the regulation portion of it, it's making sure that that really as a government organization, that we are explaining to the best ability and making that as transparent as possible about like what those regulations are.
Mhm.
Because you want to make sure that if you're checking grandmother into a facility, you want to
Yeah.
make sure that facility is safe and you want to know who to contact. You want to know what to do in those situations.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of times it's that assurance to the public that there is somebody that's making sure that that's safe. But you also want them to know what it is that you're doing because you never want to create where you feel like the government's coming in and surprising you or nobody wants excessive government regulations.
Right.
So it's making sure that there's that balance in that.
Right. Right. So in government work, decisions can have wide-ranging consequences. And how do you approach ethical decision making, especially when the stakes are high in that type of situation?
I think a lot of it is just pausing, and that's one thing I try to work with staff on. It's making sure that you're really thinking things through and asking questions, including as many people when you're talking about it as possible. Like, nobody should be the ones that are making decisions in a vacuum. You wanna reach out, and that's why I always try to make sure that my staff know that, like, you can reach out, we can talk about something if you're starting to feel, like, I don't know what this means. I'm getting multiple different viewpoints. I just wanna know what to do. So I think it's always, and I think so much, like, as attorneys too, there's the idea that you see the ones on TV and everything is moving fast, but you're like, it's okay to go sometimes slow. It's
Yeah.
okay just making sure that progress and what we're doing is making sense, that it's what is going to be best for, I mean, the public, because that's ultimately who we serve too,
Huh?
and so it's making sure, that you're not violating that public trust too.
Yeah. What does leadership look like in a public service legal role, especially when you're advising policymakers or administrators?
Yeah. So I I think probably leadership development is probably one of my favorite things, about my job and what we do.
Mm.
When you're talking about things that they should teach in law school, leadership should be part of it
Yeah.
because they're whether or not it's leading a client, just talking to them and being able to have those conversations or those difficult conversations. Um, but we I always just really try to think about, like, what it is, what values I'm bringing to everything, and I think even being able to talk about those values with, I'm talking about, like, or, like, I don't wanna say, like, values with, like, a capital V or something, but
Right.
really that idea of, like, am I bringing, like, humility
Yeah.
to this? Am I bringing compassion? Am I empowering my employees? Um, and I think, like, being able to keep those at the forefront, I actually say we have a set of values that we as a leadership team had put
Hmm.
that we sat down and we were like, "What is it that if we were gonna come up with everything," like, and so we said it was compassion, it was I have to do it in a specific order, I'll say, humility, accountability, integrity, and empowerment, and those were what we actually sat down, we were like,
Great. Yeah.
"That is what we are going to value," and it is so helpful and useful to talk to your employees when something is either going right or wrong and just be like, "What does empowerment look like in this situation? How are you going to approach this with humility?" And actually just, like, it gives you those tools to actually talk through those tough conversations. Um and that's usually what I'm trying my best to do with, like, when staff are bringing me or questions or issues. It's actually walking through and saying, like, how like, bringing it back to, like, something they can take with them.
Hmm.
Even the difficult conversations, I try my best, like, it sounds very, strange, but, like, I have, like, a specific protocol that we run through. I was like, "Okay, is this the right setting? Have you asked them their perception in this situation?" It's like, we run through the list, and, like,
Yeah.
every time if something goes a little bit off the rails, you can be like, "Okay, it doesn't sound like we, like, talked to them about this," and, like,
Yeah.
so I just think that it's something that I think we oftentimes think leadership and those, things you can just do, but
Mm,
it is a practice that you have to keep working
yeah.
on.
And I love that idea of consistency running through your talking points because that gives you the data that you need
Mm,
to be able to better address the situation because it's almost certainly going to come back up again
yeah.
or something like it.
And you will find, you'll be like, "Well, I don't think that you kind of rushed through this, and this is why the person then kind of got a little bit more upset." Or you talk to them and say, like, why are you not feeling like you can empower this person? What is it that is holding you back from doing that? And then you have something that you can work on with them. Um,
Yeah.
so
My family immigrated here from Cuba after Fidel Castro took over, and this government took everything from my family, and that attracted me to be a lawyer.
Insurance companies can be like bullies, and they have a lot of resources behind them. Give us a call here at Hearst Limontes. We are protective of our clients because our clients matter and you matter.
At Hearst Limontes, we're a firm that believes in people. We don't just talk about justice or fairness, we live it. The Indiana Fever are trailblazers. They inspire not only in how they play, but how they lead in our Indiana community. Being a father changes everything. Supporting the Fever is one way that I show my kids what it means to believe in fairness, to believe in respect and possibility. At Hearst Limontes, we believe in those same things. The Fever stand for resilience, grit, determination, and heart. They aren't just a basketball team. They're a symbol of what's possible when you refuse to give up. Their impact ripples far beyond the court, and you can see it in the energy, pride, and hope that they create in our city. Whether you're a young girl dreaming of playing in the WNBA or a kid in a small town dreaming of becoming a lawyer, you belong. This partnership is proof of that. At Hearst Limontes, we believe in standing up for those people that are overlooked. From court to court, Hearst Limontes is your winning team.
How do you, well, for example, I like to use analogy to communicate complex legal issues, especially to a jury,
mhm.
but I'm also trying to persuade them to give my client a bunch of money. Um, so how do you communicate complex legal issues to non-lawyers who still need to make these critical decisions?
I think that is a I will say that's one of the best parts about even doing some in-house counsel stuff is that's all you're doing. You are
Okay.
taking something that is purely legal and complicated, and you are trying to make it as bite-sized as possible. I mean, especially like, in my role, I'm working with folks who lots of them have their PhDs. This is not like, these are smart people, but you're like, I gotta explain the legal things. I gotta break it down in a way that is, and a lot of times it's talking to people like they're people.
Yeah.
It's just, it is trying to get out of the jargon. And it's so easy to fall into that as a lawyer. Even in public health has its own
Huh.
jargon as well. And I think that's like a great part about working with young attorneys or like legislative directors or anything like that. You're like, you got to snap out. You can't say that because like that's not helpful. Like say it is what you are trying to say. Actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed that in particular with some young lawyers with, a lot of the medical terminology that we have to use,
Mm-hmm.
just really talk to them like they're human beings,
Yeah.
and people appreciate that. Absolutely. So what have been some of the most challenging aspects for you of working in public health law?
That's actually a really good question. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. So, I mean, like, as far as challenge, I'm like, there's nothing I enjoy more than, like, when
When the challenge
when it's
comes.
challenge. I was like, so, like, I'm trying to, like, parse out, like, what is it? Um, and I will say I was fortunate, fortunate, I don't even know what the right word for that, that for during the pandemic, I was at the Department of Correction, which had its own set of so that was a really challenging time in public health.
Oh, yes.
So, I can only imagine what they had gone through, as a team, just with that experience. Um, but honestly, it's like with anything, it's learning an entirely I mean, I was w lawyer, went to law school, thought I knew what I wanted to do, then to the Department of Correction, learned all of that, and I think it was mostly something about, like, mid-30s, just being like, "Alright, let's learn an entirely different" and still trying to scale up to that.
Yeah.
My family, now all lives in, rural Park County. So it's about, an hour and a half from, Indy, but I think about it from them, like, everything that I'm doing, like, I'm like, am I helping make their lives easier, healthier, and really see it through that lens and be like, "How is it that I would want to explain this to my parents? How would I?"
Okay.
And I think that that's kind of it gives a good touchstone of just being like, the you were it we can take down all those other things, and we can just talk about what it is.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it does make that a little bit easier, and I will say you mentioned, about, using, I think I use Park County as my example for everything that I'm like, "How is this gonna"
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Park County is an interesting place. The Covered Bridge Festival is there.
Covered
Did
Bridge
you grow up out there?
I did.
How many times have you been to the Covered Bridge Festival?
I don't even think I have, like, enough I'm like, "How old am I?" I think I've only missed it twice
One.
during I think the
Yeah.
entire time. So I still like going.
So, like,
I have, like,
yeah,
the quick,
love the covered bridges. It
They're
is so cool.
I still don't 100% understand why we have them. I think that at one point, like, it would have slipped in, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So, for any young lawyers, law students, uh, anyone listening that is thinking about government or regulatory work, what is one piece of advice you would give them?
For regulatory specifically, um, sit by yourself for 30 minutes, and if you're okay with being bored that much no. Actually, going back to what is a law school class, I'm like, I always think there should be one law school class where it's, between the hours of 11:30 and 12:30, and you get no food or water, and you have to just be hungry and bored, and then I was like, that is the majority of your life as a lawyer. No, I honestly, I think it's just, it's the ability just to it's so the work is so rewarding
Mm.
that I could not have been happier with the choices that I've made, and I feel like along the way, I'm lucky in the fact that I don't know if I was making always deliberate choices in all of these things, or, like, I just kinda was,
Mhm.
"That sounded great, I'll do that." And honestly, I would encourage anybody to do it, or at least do a few years of it, especially as a new lawyer. You will get so much experience, um, and you will be able to give back and be able to understand a little bit more.
Mm-mm.
'Cause it can be very easy to become insulated, and only and again, if you only talk to lawyers, if you only know lawyers, you can get a very skewed perspective of what the world is like, and serving the public it's great. I
Yeah.
I recommend it to, like, honestly, everybody who I talk to in law school. I'm like, "Just do it for a few years, it doesn't have to be forever, but just try it," and
Yeah, absolutely. And so what, the Department of Public Health is a huge department, Department of Corrections. These are big state agencies. Are there opportunities within these state agencies that maybe a law school grad or a recent graduate would overlook?
Yeah, I think too, for those folks, especially if you are in law school, I always think one of the best, for the folks that are doing, like, even, at IU Indy, like, the night courses, I'm like, some of the paralegal jobs, I'm like, you can actually go alongside lawyers. I mean, like, the hours are good. You will
Yes.
not have it is a great time to actually just kind of and then when you're there, you've seen it, you know what, like,
Mhm.
kind of being a lawyer is like, but also, I think some of the best we have a few attorneys, that work in the Department of Health that
Mhm.
are, that are in leadership roles. Um, 2 of our assistant commissioners, um, are also attorneys. It is that idea, like, it's like, it is not such a linear path.
Yeah.
We have people who have been prosecutors, who are now with the Department of Health, and they're doing really cool work,
Yeah.
with counties because the prosecutors know the inner workings of, like, county politics and
Yeah.
like, and how to navigate that. So your skill sets like, really apply across what you think, and especially, like, the regulatory things. I mean, that is a direct fit. You can help with that. So,
Yeah. Let's change gears a little bit. Let's talk about life outside of the law.
'kay.
So we talked a little bit about the Indianapolis Bar Association. You work with the Hispanic Law Division, the Bar Foundation Board, the Bar Association Board.
Mhm.
Um, and, aside from your work with the Bar Association, any other local, state bar or legal organizations that you're involved with?
I think it's mostly indie bar. It feels like
Yeah.
that is the majority of
Busy enough.
yeah, and I feel like oftentimes we all get busy, and I'm like, I feel like I'm not giving enough time to them sometimes that,
Yeah.
but just the friends I've met there have been great, and the colleagues.
Mhm.
It is a great connection,
Yeah.
and it's a great way to meet more lawyers that are outside of just my own office
Mhm.
too.
And you said you were from Park County originally.
Yep.
Did you go to high school out there?
I went to, Rockville High School.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It does not exist anymore,
Mhm.
which also makes you feel older too. You're like so, I think they combined school districts, so
There's a lake out there, a raccoon.
yeah.
Yeah, that's right off 36 there.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a place at Heritage Lake.
Oh, okay, so yeah, it's not
Yeah, in
far
Putnam
then.
County, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right there. So I love going out there. It's really pretty out there
Yeah.
during the fall,
Yes.
especially.
And
Yes.
I, was so lucky that, like, as a kid growing up there, I worked every summer
Mhm.
at the lake. So just being able to be like
What'd you do?
I was a lake guard. I was trying to love it. And, it was like yeah, I read so many books that it was great just gonna read a book out in nature, and, no, it was and I just yeah, I've loved just being near the water and yeah.
Yeah.
I never have learned to ski. I've tried so many times. I've
Oh
tried,
my.
yeah.
No, I've just given up on it. I'd rather drive the boat. I'm like the guy on the boat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd rather sit. I don't wanna drive.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
enjoy I'll enjoy the air that is
Yes. Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I'm always the guy driving the boat. I'm the kids are I mean, as soon as the kids wake up, it's like, "Can we go tubing?" And then all day they will ask me to go tubing until I actually take them.
So you know Biz Walker goes
Yes, she's got a place.
yeah, so she's convinced that she could teach me how to ski, and
She got up on she posted a picture on Facebook. I think she'd gotten up a few times.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I can't do it.
no, it's I'm like, if I wasn't able to at ages 16 to 22, this is
No. There's just certain things, you get to I mean, I'll be 45 in a few days. I think I'm just done, like, with certain things. It's okay. I've lived my life.
I was talking to somebody today, and, he actually told me, which I think is a great idea, that he creates, his bucket list by decade.
Yeah.
And he was like, because it was something was coming out, and he's like, "Oh, that's in my '80s bucket list." He was like, "Because it's a sitting activity." It was like the Macy's parade, and he was like, "I will do that in my '80s." And I was like, I love the idea of just like I'm like, oh man,
That's a great idea.
as I stare down 40, I'm like, oh, I need to come up with my 40 list apparently of like what is it? Because
So, law can be demanding, and especially when you're in a public facing role. So how do you maintain some of that balance and recharge outside of work?
uh, I love reading and playing
Mhm.
video game. I don't
Yeah.
I wish I had like something, been like there's some folks that, we know that are like, I hiked
Right. Killing a
Mount
job.
That was actually what I was like.
Yeah. No.
who, yeah, she did also describe it to me as easy. She was like, "It's really not that hard." And I was like, "I think we have a." She's like, "It's just a." I think she's like 5 days. And I'm like, "I think we have a different idea." But no, I'm an introvert. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
so I. Probably even after this, I'm gonna have to go sit quietly somewhere because I've used it all up. But I I enjoy just having the quiet time just to like sit and read or again, I don't have kids, so I feel like I can,
Yeah.
I still play video games, which nothing makes you sound like more like when I'm like, "What'd you do last night?" I'm like, "I ordered Chinese food and played video games all night." So yeah, no, that is what I recharge just kind of by myself. So yeah.
So as someone who works with the Department of Public Health, do you ever look restaurants up before you go to them?
I do not actually.
You don't?
I don't. I don't. I like, which seems like something I should probably be more aware of.
No, I just didn't know.
I just, I,
I bet there's got to be someone there that does that. They're like, well, let's look them up.
I again, maybe from growing up in like farm country all the way to then I went to law school in New Orleans. I'm like the amount of things I've probably eaten.
Yeah.
No, this is not what's gonna do me in. I'm like I had a gator quesadilla sitting in.
Oh my gosh, I bet
Like,
that was good though.
it was delicious, but I was also like, sitting on the floor of a bar in New Orleans. I'm like, I
Yeah.
think I don't.
You're good.
I'll be fine.
So let's look ahead a little bit. What areas of public health law do you think will become more important in the next 5 or 10 years?
I think as we continue to age as a population, I think looking at more um, emphasis on like the long-term care facilities.
Yeah.
Just because that's a really difficult population. If
Mhm.
you are a caregiver, or anybody who's ever cared for an elderly loved one, it's exceptionally difficult. We made the decision as a family to move my grandmother into one as well. It's really difficult on the families, and I think we're hitting the point where I can't remember the actual definition of it off the top of my head, but like I think we're getting closer to it being a super aged population where it's like more the population is above the age of, and I forget what the threshold is, but I think there's going to be a bigger emphasis on like what we're
Yeah.
doing, especially because I think so many of us also want to make sure that we're staying healthy
Yeah.
into our older ages, and taking a harder look at like what it is that we're eating, making
Mhm.
sure that um I can even say I've taken a look at some of the things and I'm like, I like
Yeah.
so much of the so much of the process things to even what is it that's gonna be healthy and what is it that's gonna really at age 80 that's gonna get me so I can have my bucket list, my
Right.
80 bucket list. So I think that'll be a bigger emphasis on how we're aging better, and aging healthier.
Yeah. I got to pay better attention to what I'm putting. I probably drink coffee like water, like just gallons of it,
Yeah,
and, and it's not good,
yeah,
you know?
I
Yeah.
I will say I know the rule, like what we should be doing. I'm like, I still love Pop Tarts. That is still and every time I eat one, I'm like, that was, I can feel my body actively not liking what I just ate. But
Yes. Well, it's like I was talking to someone the other day. We were talking yesterday at the holiday party. We were talking about McDonald's and with my kids. I have 4 kids
Mhm.
under 12. You bring home McDonald's, they go absolutely friggin' bonkers.
Yeah,
Like it's like I'm putting, a St. Elmo's steak in front of them or something. And I'm like, it's McDonald's. And it just sits there. My daughter the other day, she had 18 chicken nuggets and she goes, my stomach hurts. And I said, yeah, no shit, your stomach hurts. You ate 18 chicken
yeah,
nuggets.
that's actually impressive. 18 is a pretty. That's actually.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't believe it. But so if there's one takeaway that you would hope that the listeners, have after hearing your story and learning about your work and what you do, what would that be?
I think Honestly, I have like 4 that just popped in my head
Well, let's
simultaneously.
use all.
One is I always like to just make a plug for a lot of the websites that the government puts out. Actually, really great information. So we actually do a lot of information about like about communities and where community health is and what like, and I think that gets missed sometimes.
Mm.
Like that, nobody. It's not a website that everyone goes to, but I always recommend, especially even for like physicians or anybody, to be like, go learn about your own community and like what health issues and challenges that they are having. That was a really boring answer to what would you want to take away. I'm like, no, like educate yourself because there's so many cool resources out there. And I will say I'm constantly sending my family like just like I was even talking to them too, just like a program of like 5210, which is something that some states and like public health folks are putting out, which is it's hard for parents to do, it's hard. And so part of it's to like focus on 5 fruits and vegetables a day.
Yeah.
Limit no more than 2 hours of non-educational screen time. 0 sugary drinks and 1 hour. Oh, I missed the one. And then 1 hour of activity.
Yeah.
Whether it's walking, playing, or something like that. And you're like,
Yeah.
if you're doing that, it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, and I told that to my
idea.
Yeah, because some of it you're like, you can't. Not everything's gonna be perfect. Not everything's gonna be easy. And again, it's like, what is it that people need? And you're like, somebody could sit in an ivory tower and be like, you should not do this. But you're like, you know what, I need to give my kid a tablet so that I can
not lose my freaking time.
It's exactly. So sometimes it's things like that I'm like, those are just good resources.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think it's funny. It's like you said, they're in their ivory tower. You know what? Fill that ivory tower with kids.
Yeah.
And they're gonna sing a different tune.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like, again, we talk about like, how do you make it so that it's accessible? It's things like that when you're like, don't shoot for perfect. We'll tell, this is information, but also here's an easy way just to make sure. And you're like, you know what? If they're doing those things, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
So,
one thing my wife does, she'll take like steamed broccoli in a bag and then she'll cook it into the red sauce. So, and then you mix it with the spaghetti and it works sometimes. Sometimes they're like, no. We can
spot it.
We can tell. They're like, you put broccoli in this, didn't you? Like, yeah. So, but I mean, that's what is parenting except for just constant trial and error, and because it's
you gotta keep a whole other human alive. Right? You need 4 of them alive. That's not an easy task. So you don't need somebody telling you like other ways to make you feel bad about something.
Right. So. Yeah. People ask me why I work so much. So. If anyone wants to get a hold of you in the future, how can they do that?
I am on LinkedIn and my email I think is on the
it's on the
website.
Yeah.
So I'm easy to find.
Yeah. So, well, Jon, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. This is fun.
Yeah. This is our last episode of 2025. Going into 26, we got a great plan. We got some awesome new equipment. This is not it right here, but we'll get it set up for them here soon. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Circle City Conversations. Please subscribe so you don't miss out on any more future conversations.